Hey guys, what's going on? Jenko Sports here, bringing you a brand new series to the channel. Finally, the day has arrived where the Football Manager 2015 beta has been released. A lot of people were speculating that it would be tomorrow, as there was a statement prior to the launch of the game saying that the beta would be released about 2 weeks before Football Manager drops, and I think it releases on the 7th, so Friday was looking to be the day. But in fact, we've got it a few hours early, which means we can sink our teeth straight in. Now, I have hinted at a series with Charlton Athletic before, and indeed that's what we're going to do. So just straight into the game, and you can see there my monster of a PC, which is mainly used for media and editing and that kind of stuff, has been put very much to the test here with 2015. It already seems, what I have noticed off the bat in the first hour or so of gameplay, is that it does seem quite a bit slower than recent years. I'm not too sure if it's just me that's found this or if there are other players that have found exactly the same, but if I am the only one, then I'm a bit screwed. If I'm not the only one, then please do let me know in the comments so I know that my PC is not just killing itself alive for no apparent reason, and it's something that, you know, the developer can hopefully look into and solve before the game's launch. I mean, a lot of people do play these games on their laptops or their MacBooks, so performance is quite a big issue. So if it's not up to par, then they can look into it. If it is just me, then I may need to have a look and maybe take a hammer to my own computer. But as you can see at the moment, just going through the very basics of setting up the game, and this is a new feature with the formation. You can physically move the players around to determine your formation, but straight away with the strikers, I haven't found a solution around that yet, where the strikers almost go asymmetric. You can't just put them level and side by side. There's always one deep line forward and one just behind them. Now, again, I'm not too sure if that's just me being an idiot or completely missing something there, but it doesn't look like you can have two strikers just level side by side like you could in recent versions of the game. But there's all the championship sides. We of course go for our beloved Charlton Athletic in a bid to restore them to their former glory and take them to the Premier League. Who knows, maybe even Europe. But bearing in mind, I've played this game for 4 years now and I've won absolutely nothing in terms of silverware. I mean, I've made playoffs, I've been promoted, I've got to cup finals, I've just never won any of them. So I seem to be one of those doomed managers. So fingers crossed this can be the game where it all turns around. Now, this is a new feature added in. Many of you will have heard of it, the managerial style, where you can choose if you want to be a tracksuit manager or a tactical manager. Someone who's out there with the players, one of the lads, all the banter in the changing rooms, or one that sits in his office all day updating Twitter and Facebook, taking a few Instagram photos of the sushi he had for lunch, and then attending the games in a suit and not talking to anyone. So more of a tracksuit manager. I thought I'd try and just get the best blend possible. Obviously, the main thing that stood out for me on the tactical side is the youngster knowledge, and I really want that because there's nothing better in Football Manager than scouting a worldie and him turning out to be an absolute dynamite of a player 2-3 seasons down the line. So hopefully we can get some of that in this season as we take charge at Charlton Athletic. The first screen up there, the classic, do you want to save the game? And you've got to go through all the meetings and meet the players and reject the inter-squad friendly because it's a complete waste of time, then reject the trial day, all of that good stuff. But the first thing we decide to do is just take a complete evaluation of the squad and decide who needs to be really put on loan, who will be starting in the first team, and who can be completely disregarded from the team, and maybe even looking at the training as well, or who could be good mentors. So Frank Musa obviously joined us at the start of the season, very good stat wise, and only 24 as well, plenty of room to improve for the Belgian. Traditionally enough, he has to be Belgian, bearing in mind that Standard Liège is now our parent club. Nick Pope could be a player that gets sent out on loan. He's very talented, had a good spell at York of course, and we're interested to see where he fits in. Obviously Stephen Henderson, after acquiring him from West Ham, will be our main choice of keeper. George Tukadeyan has really actually stepped up this season so far. I've been very impressed with him, as I have with this man, Igor Vetakele. I've got him on the back of my Charlton shirt. His stats are off the roof as well. Very, very good for Vetakele. Now, he's not too much of an aerial threat. He's only the size of Papa Smurf. But what he can provide is that absolute danger on the edge of the box. He's fired in some brilliant rockets so far this season, and hopefully that continues. You can see there Zach Answer getting some training, also being put available for loan if possible. Tal Benaim, probably the oldest player in the squad, on loan from Standard Liège. And this man, Andre Bikey, got signed as well. Very, very impressive in the early stages. And to be honest, the Charlton team this year, I had high doubts over. There are about 5 or 6 players that we'd signed coming in from Standard Liège that I thought wouldn't fit the game plan whatsoever. I mean, we've got Jordan Cousins, who's had a good season last year in the under-21s, starting to break out now. His stats are getting there. Obviously, the absolute animal wonder kid of Joe Gomez. We've got Laurie Wilson, who had a good year last season as well. There is Joe Gomez talking of him. Look at that for a 17-year-old. He's absolutely through the roof. But the rest of the squad that I thought would be good players have all coming from Standard Liège. We've had a new manager. I didn't honestly think that we'd have that chemistry going into this year. I thought that the players wouldn't gel. There's only a few English, well I say English, that sounds a bit racist, but a few original Charlton members from last season left. And it would take a while to gel and get that chemistry and get that flow going, very much like Fulham at the start of this year. But now taking a look at it, and what are we, 13, 14 games into the season, they've killed it. They've had an absolutely insane start, and yeah, we were unbeaten up until the other week, and a lot of them have been draws, but overall we've had some very, very good football being played, some tricky fixtures we overcome, a nice 2-1 win over Bolton during the week as well. It's been great to see, and for once I'm actually kind of excited to see where this Charlton team will take us. Bear in mind the end of last season that we had Chris Powell, who was so sensational in League Number 1, got us into the Championship, and then all the fans were behind him, but he just never seemed to get there, did he? It's really struggled mid-season. We were down in the relegation places, we couldn't get a win. We get Jose Riga in, he saves us from relegation like our Lord and Saviour, pisses off to Blackpool, they go into administration, and we're left with no manager. So Bob Peters comes in, an ex-Millwall player, which I think shocked a lot of fans. He then comes in and then does wonders with the club, so really excited about where it's going to go. But this is my take on the Charlton team at the moment then, my ideal starting 11 with this current formation. As you can see, Joe Gomez and Tal Ben-Aim. Ideally, I want to get Gomez trained up by one of our other centre-backs just to get those stats increased a bit more. In terms of depth, we don't really need to add that much at the moment. All positions are looking pretty good. I never thought I'd say that at the start of Football Manager. I normally want to just scout out the kids straight away, get in a load of players and rework the team. But obviously this team had already been added with about 6 or 7 players prior to the start of the year. So it's already a very fresh squad. But what I do decide to add is a couple of players just for depth on the left-hand side of the ball. So the left back, we've only really got Royce Wiggins. Other than that, it's a bunch of under-20s and 19-year-olds. Same with the left mids, yeah, we've got Callum Harriott, who seems to be a bit inconsistent in recent Football Manager versions I've played, I think since 2012. He has got progressively better, and he does have a lot of pace and acceleration to his name, but in terms of passing ability and crossing, he's not that strong. So I'd much rather go for a more all-rounded attacking left midfielder if possible, so I'll definitely be in the hunt for a transfer window signing there. Jordan Cousins will be looking to get a few appearances. More than anything, it's just going to be a case of rotating the squad around, maybe signing 2 or 3 players at most, and then just rotating it between the youth and the under-21s and the main seniors, because there are a lot of talent in the under-21s. Now bear in mind, Retziger Shanajad, or Retziger Shanajad as he's more commonly known, has gone out on loan at the moment like an absolute traitor. The day before I was going to get him on my shirt, goes out on loan. So the mighty Retzer that everyone loved last season, that did absolutely fuck all, bar than score like 1 goal against Leeds and then score for Iran in the World Cup. Now, I think he's actually the only Charlton player to ever score in a World Cup, so he's got that going for him. But yeah, there's no way we're going to get him, unfortunately. He's gone out on loan. I don't want to call him back because he doesn't really have the talent for the squad anymore. I mean, he's never really been that prominent, and as good as he was showboating-wise, he can never really muster up a good finish. So as we say, we'll be rotating between the masters almost and then their apprentices. We've got Joe Gomez, who should be getting a few starts through the year and more progressively becoming a more prominent feature inside the first team. But if that fails, you've still got Tal Ben-Aim there, who's going to be the commanding chief there. We've got Andre Bikey, who'll step in as well. In terms of strikers, Tukuden and Vetakele will be leading the squad, but we don't know if we're going to need any more depth yet. Simon Church isn't really a good backup. He's, again, very inconsistent. He can't really perform at championship level. Stick him in a League Cup game and then we blasting him in left, right and centre, 3 or 4 different ones at a time. But you stick him in a championship game where it really matters and he just never seems to deliver, which is a big worry. So I want to try and get myself maybe a striker just in case either Big Eagle or George Tucker-Dayan get injured during the course of the season. Goalkeeper-wise, Stephen Henderson is obviously going to be making the start. Centre mids, Johnny Jackson's not going anywhere, possibly the most loyal player to ever put on a Charlton shirt, bearing in mind they were in relegation last year and he decided to sign another 2-year deal with the club. But of course my philosophies could change as the season goes on. Players obviously vary in form. They could be amazing 1 minute or terrible the next, or just flat out terrible, which tends to be the case most of the time. And the one problem I've seemed to have with managing Charlton is that because they're my favourite club, I've already got pre-assumptions on what the starting lineup should be and who my favourite players are. And obviously you're going to be more biased towards your favourite players to get them the starts and get them scoring or getting good ratings because you want to see them do well. But by doing that, they may not be as good in Football Manager as they are in real life, or they may be even better for some people. But because of that, and you've already got these pre-assumptions that you won't let certain players have a try, or you'll play certain players that don't deserve to be played just because you think they're good or they're, you know, flashy or they've scored a nice goal the previous week. And that's let me down in the past. Now, as I say, I've never really achieved anything in a game of Football Manager. I've been promoted from the Skrill South, which was nice because it was lower league management. Standard Liège, I made the Europa League quarter-final. I made the Belgian Cup final. I could have won the league, and I didn't do any of them. Got to the FA Cup final with Hull City, and then got thrashed 4-0 to Manchester City, which was always good. So this is a season, I think, with Charlton. I'm taking a much more methodical approach, and I'm going to see what we can do. Because for once, I just really want to win something with the club I support and take them to glory, because, you know, who doesn't? So this is a new feature that they've put into the game. This is to do with scouting and sending them on assignments. You can literally choose the attributes of a player that they'll search for, what rating you want those attributes to be, the age of players you want them to scout for, and their current and potential abilities. So again, a really nice feature that's been added in. Previously with scouting, you just sent them off to a country, gave them their bags, and they come back to you in 3 weeks. Actually, that sounds like a really good job, doesn't it? You just piss off to Thailand for 3 weeks, put your feet up, and then send a text saying, yeah, this guy John's really good, give him a sign-in. And then you whack him into the squad, and he turns out to be a worldie, and your job is saved. But this time, though, you get a much more detailed approach into the scouting. You can see exactly what you want your scout to do, and in turn, get a much deeper, much more detailed report back for the players that you really do need for the squad, not just a bunch of 30 and 32-year-olds or Premier League has-beens that are going to ask for £67,000 a week to play for Plymouth Argyle. And our first stroke of bad luck already comes from Johnny Bynes getting injured without even playing a game. So brilliant there by Football Manager. That always seems to happen. I think 2012 it was Bradley Wright Phillips that got injured for me before even playing a match. So this is absolutely fantastic. Hopefully that doesn't continue as we give the groundsman our alterations. You can see there, nice little win over Ebbsfleet under-21s. We've got our under-21s actually doing really well there. They've got quite a lot of the first team involved as well, bear in mind. Obviously Joe Gomez is going to be starting for them. And you look at the squad at the moment as it is, Johnny Bynes will be obviously missed from that list. But as we go to scout Hereford, hoping for a big win there if we somehow don't. And Vetakele is injured already. Igor Vetakele, who has been, you know, going to be the main man, the commander-in-chief at the front of the offensive side of the football, has now been injured. It's been, what, a week? About 20 minutes into the game? And he's already injured. So this is even better. This just keeps on improving, and my faith is ever going up and increasing as we offer, I think that's Mitov a contract, so one of our young goalies, and he'll also take a bit of tutoring from one of our senior keepers as well. You'll see that in just a moment. The format of this series as well, I've simmed all of pre-season basically, so I'm not going to be going into the games and watching you face Hereford, because there's no point in showing you Charlton versus Hereford. I don't know why anyone would want to see that. Even I don't want to see it. So I changed staff responsibilities. They take care of the tactics and all the pre-season friendlies, so I can focus on transfers, getting the training sorted, getting the squad morale, the meetings, the press, that kind of thing before the start of the season. But look at that, 8-1 over Hereford United. Now I expected a big win, but I think that was something a little bit more than I first expected, because often in pre-season you get a few shocks and there'll be a team like Hereford that do you over and they'll beat you 1-0 despite you having 19 shots. But this guy got 4 goals. Now he's only 16, so I thought the best thing to do would be to get him some tutoring from Johan Berg Goodmanson. He turns it down like the snobby little bastard he is. So we have to in turn get him trained from George Tukadine, or Tukadayan, however you want to pronounce it. So in the end, I mean, he's a 16-year-old striker. He's scoring 4 against Hereford. Now it's not exactly Manchester United, but to still get 4 goals in a pre-season friendly as a 16-year-old is pretty commendable. So he's obviously got a flash of talent, so I thought by giving him some tutoring for a much more experienced striker, he's going to improve his stats as well. Now we go into the scouting realm a little bit now. Now here's a potential striker, Olgadello, 21 years old. The scouts don't seem too keen. And in previous versions of Football Manager, they'd say definite purchase or sign this player no matter what. Give your left testicle for this player. Sell every other player. Sell our ground. Just sign this player. Whereas now they're like, keep an eye on him. Don't keep an eye on him. He might be alright, he might not be. And they leave it to you a lot more. They don't give you as much information. Which is quite interesting because it leaves a lot more of it down to management. You can't just stick a load of players on scout reports and choose the ones they say definite purchase. You've got to find out the worldies and separate the worldies from the waste of space 15-year-olds. Now this guy could be good for a potential left back. Currently with Crystal Palace under 21s. The pros and cons are very good feature to add into the game. Definitely helps the decision on whether you should sign a player or no. And you can see already he's better than Morgan Fox. Chris Solly plays on the opposite side of the wing, so it's not really going to be a worthy comparison. So it would look like a good player to bring into the squad should we decide to do it. Now obviously this is my own scouting method of finding all the stats. I'll describe it a bit more in a moment, but we do find a potential wonder kid. Now he's 21, Jean Roman from the Barcelona B team, played 2 games with Villarreal last season. Could still be a bit of a talent. Now I said I wanted to spruce up the left midfield anyway. If I can get him cheap enough for about $500,000, I'd definitely consider bringing him into the squad. Even if he doesn't start much, even if we loan him out. He's from Barcelona, he's talented, his stats are all very high, and if we can bring that into our squad, if let's just say for instance Callum Harrier gets injured, we've got someone who's potentially a lot better, just ready to replace him, because right now the left side of midfield doesn't really have a lot of depth. It's only one average or slightly below average player. I'd much rather bring in someone who's at the top of his game or definitely showing signs of improvement. Now you can see there that it may be worth tracking the player for that left back I was on about, but keep a close eye on the Barcelona left midfielder. So I think, right, you look at the 2 potential and the 2 current abilities, I can get him for about 450k, which is by no means a bad price. I mean, it could be a lot worse, but for a player of that calibre, you could be doing a lot worse in terms of what you're buying. In terms of bang for your buck as well, his contract is maybe a little bit different. I mean, you can see that 6k he wants a week, but not only that, 20% promotion rise if they get to the Premier League. It's just a bit too much. He wants 8k a week. In all honesty, I couldn't really afford it, but I thought the chances of us getting promoted are slim. He's obviously confident in his own ability. If he can get promoted, then yeah, albeit, let's go. Let's bring him into the team. And for one, let's just take a risk and see how this pays out. This could go absolutely terribly, or for once, it can actually go okay. So we signed this guy. He's got a 4-star assistant report called Roman. Well, the reporter's not called Roman. The player's called Roman. He should be our starting left midfielder or left winger, depending on the formation we play. So fingers crossed, this could be something new in our side. It's only really the one part of the team where we're lacking. Now, Standard Liège, our parent club, we've already stolen 80% of their players, but one man stood out to me. I actually did a save with Standard last year. This guy is an absolute tank in 2013. 20 years old, Julien Desarts. Get him on a free in terms of loaning him. You can get him to the end of the year. Don't pay for his wages, and if Johnny Bynes or anyone like that or Johnny Jackson gets injured, you've got a 20-year-old who's got the talent, he's got the flair to bring something to the team. Obviously he knows a lot of the teammates anyway, being ex-Standard players, that he should be a worthy addition to the squad. That was the one player actually in real life in the summer transfer window that I genuinely hoped we'd sign. So we'll see if my prediction's right as we get ourselves underway, but we sign him from Standard Liège, and if he turns out to be quite a worldie in Football Manager, then I'm pretty sure we've made a good decision. Now looking at left backs as well, and this guy stood out as a midfielder, J. Manuel Thomas from Bristol City. Now statistically, very, very sound indeed. His pros and cons are looking good. He's much better there, you can see, than Frank Musa on the right hand side of the screen, but he comes at one hell of a price, nearly 1.5 million, estimated minimum really. They want about 2 million for him, and then his wages also are looking very high indeed, and I don't think at the moment that it's that much needed. I mean, yeah, okay, it'd be a great addition to the squad, but at the moment, I think Frank Musa's going to cover his slot very well. I think just behind him as well, Frederick Bullot has been a very standout player at Standard Liège. Meska from Fulham, 21 years old, doesn't look too bad either, but there is our scouting shortlist so far. So I just put in all the attributes, ticked all 47 of them, chose ages at most 25, and then put all the stats is at least about 17 or 18, and then just saw where we got to. So this just about brings us to the end of the first episode. We've signed a player, well, 2 players if you include Julien Desarts on loan. We've set our tactics, our training. We've got players going out on loan, hopefully soon. Pre-season is completed. Next episode will mark the first game of the season. You'll see the full 3D match engine as well, and there'll be no Football Manager episode complete without a review of the 2 standout wonder kids, Will Hughes from Derby, and then the almighty Eder Alvarez Balanta as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you have liked this series, you have any advice or want more of the series, or, you know, talk about video length, if you want shorter videos or longer episodes, then be sure to let me know. From myself, Jenko Sports, I'll see you in episode 2 where we kick off the season.